Hey, yo, folk. What up, F Oak? Ooh. Mm. Oh, man. I think I gotta do something about something because I swear sometimes I have my best thoughts and I do my best thinking just by happenstance when I have no ability to record or write down or whatever. Um, like a minute ago when I was taking a dookie on the toilet over there. I was thinking about we as humanity um, over the centuries and millennia uh, collectively done a lot of thinking and research and stuff, and science is the scientific method. It's now the way to do everything. And in the 1700s to mid 1800s, early 1900s is when there was that was when it was really starting to take off and make some big advances. Um, Usually through war, but you know, just in general too. Um, and also during that time, there was a lot of social progress being made, but there was still. I got to get more ice. Hold on. So, I'm back. There was a lot of social progress being made during that time, but there was a lot of skeezy shit still going on. Not to say there isn't now, but we all know slavery and women's rights. So there was all that style stuff. There were monarchs, all of that. And before the scientific revolution and the rational thought, rationalism, renaissance, mankind used divine right and religion and all of that whole baggage of stuff, whole binding for the justification of slavery and all that. Natural law, not the scientific method understanding of natural law, but the divine natural law. With the advent of the scientific method, now they started using the budding fields not field, but fields of science to justify slavery, the oppression of women, all of that for said acts. That's how we got things like phrenology. The rich and powerful said, "Ooh, science, that's good. That's even better than God. Let me get some of that for slavery." Because that'll win over Congress. That'll win over the North. That'll win over the abolitionists, right? That'll work. That'll shut them up. Um, and so fast forward a little bit to now, they're still doing that. The slave masters, even after the Civil War, they're still doing that shit. You know, we got economics. Uh, I mean, just take your pick. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Um, State lotteries. A lot of it is basically the same garbage. Um, the knockdown effects of redlining, urban centers, hoods. Uh, I'm using pretty much only American stuff, so I just don't know enough about the rest of the world. But so all of that. So where I'm going with all of this is that I think I'm proposing, not I think I'm proposing, but I am proposing that a maybe not a new enlightenment, because I don't think it's really new, but a better argument, a rebuttal to the slave masters, essentially, and perhaps a way to just counter all of the what are they? The foremen for the slave masters. You know, the not slave hands, but who were they? The guys that did all the dirty work for the slave masters. I forget the word for it. Enforcers, maybe? I don't know. One way or another, that class, a way to have a counter argument rebuttal is to say, essentially, our side just doesn't, I don't care, really. Our side is stop arguing the case of justification entirely. We're not going to worry about what is the justification for anything, and we don't care about your justification for X, Y, and Z. If a certain situation is bad, if it feels bad, if it causes harm, pain, or puts someone or something in disadvantageous circumstance that they would otherwise not be in, then we're just not going to do it. We're not going to have it. And if that individual is in a state that is needing remediation, or a situation that is in harm or despair, they are going to be the recipient of aid, i.e., the human situation. They need food, and your mission is going to be to give them food. They need health care, you're going to provide them health care. Housing, you're going to provide them housing. Water, water. Mm-hmm. And you are not going to be concerned with monetary cost. It's not your duty to be concerned with the resource expenditure. It is only your duty to be concerned with the relieving of suffering and pain. And removing, creating the absence of hunger, pain, that sort of thing. And extending that not only to humans, but to animals and such. I think that's a much more enlightened perspective to have than to simply attempt to create or develop a new and more refined way to justify the existing circumstance, or an even more cruel circumstance that is advantageous to yourself or the people that are in an even more advantageous position to yourself. In other words, stop being a bootlicker, you bootlicker. Brave new world, right? We've always been, for the most part, all of us, trying to create a better world. Some of us have just been hoping and praying for it after we die, and others have been actually actively trying to create it while we're alive. Not just kicking the can down the road and waiting until we're a corpse. Why should you have to wait until you're a corpse? When you can see, plain as day, there are others that have a much better life. You can observe it, especially nowadays. It's on TV. And why should you only have a piece of a better life? Especially today, when there's more than enough for everybody to have. Not just a better life, but a very, very, very prosperous and healthy life, for the most part, unless you're dealt a very, 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 very unfortunate hand by fate. And even then, the developed world can ease a lot of suffering. Very, very unfortunate defects at birth can be highly mitigated. I know it because my brother was born extremely disabled. He still lived a long time, 52 years old. Even poor, very poor. As poor as you can be, pretty much. If America decided to split its money much, much more equitably, his life could have been a lot more comfortable. Same with all the people that are like him. Much, much more comfortable. And the people in positions like him, born to a nothing family, are all over the country. Some people like him are born into a very wealthy family. They have access to a lot of stuff. Stephen Hawking, for example, his illness was progressive and everybody got a very public, he put himself out there publicly. So everybody got a very good idea of what living with something like that is. Unfortunately, my brother lived like that his entire life. And he still lived okay. Not extremely comfortably, but it was okay. By today's standards. It could have been very much better. Very, very, very much better. If only this country actually gave a damn and highly reprioritized everything to giving a damn. And I mean actually giving a damn. I know people will say, well, we spend so much money on social programs and stuff, but you don't. You care more about not taking money from people who actually have money. No matter what anyone says, that's what you actually care about. American taxpayers. If you had a choice between killing terrorists and taxing everyone, you would say, I'll kill terrorists. Definitely don't want to tax people. Let's just not do that. In fact, any choice between anything and taxes, anything. Get the boogeyman out of the room. The boogeyman of taxes. Taxes are the T word that Americans fear more than anything. So, yeah. I hope you enjoy this. It was fun. I'm going to go back to my game now. That was an enjoyable poo also. It was not stinky. It was just slippery. Tax rich people. Tax them good. Kneecap them. Boobs!